good evening, and welcome to this week's episode of the Hearts of Men podcast, hosted by the community. We are your hosts for this evening's conversation. My name is Dwayne Dwyer. I go by the Mindset Coach, and I'm also joined by my brother, Mr. Roland Walker, also known as Poor Man's Dr. Phil, Mr. Shift Happens. Brother, Poor Man. How you doing today, man?
Oh, man, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I've been looking forward to it after this week and then yesterday's events and everything. Yeah, I look forward to this
Yeah, man.
evening's yeah.
Absolutely. Same here. Same here. And Brother Chris will be joining us here as well shortly. Our other brother, he is traveling, so safe travels to you this evening, Brother Gaddy. Also, Uncle Junior, he is out there on the reservation, so I want to send a shout out to both of those brothers. Be safe, make it home safely, and we look forward to having you guys back on set next week. And as always, we look forward to everybody who join us in the chat. So I want to make sure that I call you by name because we appreciate you guys. So good evening, Miss Crystal Everett, Miss Michelle Ray, Miss Cassandra McKenzie, Miss Bernadette Simmons, Lisa Keys, May Bird, Miss Adrian Walter. Good to see you guys and welcome to the show. And if you're out there and you've joined us for the first time, by all means, get in the chat. Just let us know you're there because on this channel we like to call you by name. We like to give you your flowers because we appreciate you. We know that you could be any place else, but you chose to be here with us on this beautiful Friday post Thanksgiving evening. And so again, we like to acknowledge you. And if this is your first time joining us, go ahead and look in the lower right hand corner of your screen and put your icon over the YouTube icon, and then you'll get a flower and go ahead and subscribe to that. Miss Verlene McCoy, good to see you and welcome to this evening's conversation. So that being said, man, we're just gonna kind of get after it real quick because we're not gonna waste anybody's time this evening because I'm sure everybody's still with their family. As always, I like to put out our admin notes. So again, we're still doing our monthly giveaway. As you see, the month of November is closing out. So again, make sure that you get your comments in, your questions in, so that we can ask them during the conversation. So that said, make sure that you go to www.totalmindsetshift.com. Again, www.totalmindsetshift.com, and go ahead and become a member of the site. That's it. That's it. Become a member of the site. Once you join the site, we'll give you access to the community. Once you get access to the community, go to the general chat and then open up the pinned message at the top. Once you open up that message, you'll see two buttons. One will say November, one will say December. And go ahead and fill out the submission form and ask your question for that show. If your question get asked for that particular show, you will be entered into the draw, and then you will get your prize at the end of the month. We try to do it almost expeditiously. That way we don't run into any issues. Again, I have to get it before the month is over. Before that last show for that month, I have to get it because I can't give you credit for anything that we have already talked about. So again, make sure you go to www.totalmindsetshift.com, become a member of the site, and then go ahead and submit your question for that particular episode. Now, welcome to a transformative conversation that will take you on a journey through the intricate tapestry of men's role in family and society. In a world where expectations constantly shift and responsibilities evolve, this video is your guiding light through the intricate maze of masculinity. Imagine this. You felt the weight of societal pressures, the profound sense of duty, and the complex emotions that come with witnessing your loved ones age gracefully. It's a path that countless men have walked, and it's time to give voice to these unspoken experiences. Join us in this captivating exploration where we'll uncover the many hats that men wear, from the joys and challenges of fatherhood to the selfless acts of caregiving. This isn't just another conversation, it's a transformative journey that taps into your senses and stirs your soul. Through real life stories, wisdoms, and actionable strategies, we'll provide the compass you need to navigate a ever-changing landscape of modern masculinity. But this is just the beginning. By tuning in, we're offering you an exclusive invitation to join the community, a gathering of like-minded individuals on a shared path. Here, you'll connect, share experiences, gain insights, and find camaraderie in your journey. And for those ready to elevate their mindset even further, there's the Diamond Club, an exclusive membership program overflowing with additional content, tools, and unwavering support. Whether you're a father, a son, a caregiver, or simply someone eager to understand the evolving dynamics of men's roles in society, this video is a treasure trove of wisdom waiting to be discovered. Grab a pen and some paper, inject your questions and thought provoking insights in the chat because together we're about to redefine and celebrate the essence of manhood in modern age. That being said, first and foremost, before we get started, and I thought my brother was already on camera. So, Ro, I want to drop a question real quick, man, because again, we just got finished with the whole Thanksgiving thing, and I got the opportunity to chill out with seeing my son and seeing my grandson and all kind of stuff like that, and I get excited about that, right? So I just kind of want to just kind of put this question out there for you to answer. And I have not put it up there, so we're just going to kind of freestyle it, right? So the question I have for you is like in a world where the roles of men in family and society are constantly evolving. Everybody has an opinion here. Everybody has a thought. Everybody has their idea of what manhood look like. How would you describe the role that you've embraced over the years in your life as a father?
Describe the role that I've had to embrace or challenges. I think I had to learn on the fly a lot of what a man's roles were, because I think we automatically come with the notion that men's roles come from either being domineering, either being the breadwinner, the protector, the nurturer in that aspect, but we don't necessarily know what it entails. We don't know what it means. So for me, I was a father early, and I didn't necessarily know what it meant to be a father. I just knew I wanted better for my kids than I had. So I knew I had to provide for them. I knew I had to provide whatever it is that they needed. And then when I got a father figure in my life who taught me what it was to be a man, who actually walked with me through this thing and just not just telling me a bunch of stuff. Then I'm like, oh, it ain't just me telling her what to do. It ain't just me barking orders. That's not me, because that's what I thought. Do what I said because I'm the man. Do what it was the iron fist rule. And early on, that's what it was. I did that iron fist thing. Do as I say, not as I do. And the military teaches you other things about being a man and that role, but you learn like, oh, it's a bunch of these men. Oh, sometimes you got women in charge. Oh, so that's not a role simply for us men. But I think as I learned what the scripture says about being a man, then I could sit back and say, okay, it's not about me having the iron fist. It's about me helping the people under me or in my vicinity to grow.
I like that. And before I get started, Chris, welcome to today's conversation, brother. As always, good to see you.
Greetings, fellas. What's going on?
What's going
Another
on?
beautiful day, man. Another beautiful day. I want you to take time to digest this. I'm not going to drop this in your lap just yet. Um, I know that you're not a father, but if as you're digesting this, just kind of imagine it from your perspective of the ever changing role of what fatherhood is from your perspective. Um, for me, I like what you said, Roland, because I had no idea what fatherhood was. It was just something that I just, didn't plan it out. It just, stumbled upon it. And then by that time, it was just something that I had to do. And so I looked at it more so as a responsibility during that time as opposed as an honor. And so I wanted to make sure that I did my role, did my job when it came down to fatherhood. So I did the things that I thought I knew I was supposed to do when it came down to being a father. I made sure that the lights were on. I made sure that the food was in the house. I made sure that those things happened. But I will also say that I was lacking in a number of different things. I was lacking in the emotional support. I was lacking in having some of those conversations early that children need to have, especially coming from their father. And then as I got older, those things started to come full circle, not because somebody showed me, but because I went on a journey to learn it for myself. And even in the midst of going on that journey, I'm not going to say that that journey in real time, like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. Okay, this is how I'm going to do it. No, it was like, okay, still struggling with the idea of what fatherhood, what manhood looked like, and then trying to come to grips with what this new information is that I'm learning. And then when you start changing things, it just felt like I was, running up against a brick wall because it was different. I wish um, given your example, I wish I had somebody who actually showed me what that looked like, that would sit me down and talk with me about certain things, but I did not have that. And so, what I would tell you is that for me, it changed drastically. And I like the thing that you said a while back. You said, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think you said, I am a much better grandfather than I am a father. Okay, yeah. So that would be me, definitely me, because now it's like my grandson. He's 5 years old. Well, he'll be 5 years old in January, but it's like in my mind, I'm like, yo, and me and his dad, like, yo, we need to do this. Yo, we need to do that. Like, how can I help do this? Like, what are we doing here? And so, the struggle for me is not to be overbearing, but let him learn the joys of fatherhood as well, but just be that emotional support and be that mentor that he actually needs, so that when he asks me certain questions, I am ready to give a response based upon what he's experiencing, but slow to give a response because I want to make sure that he articulate how he's experiencing it. Chris, the floor is yours, sir. I'm sorry, go ahead, Ro. You had something else?
No, I was just gonna say, and I agree with you there. And it helps because we bumped our heads where they're going. So now we don't want them to. It's like if I've been through the pitfalls, why I'm gonna allow you to fall in them without warning you first? I'm gonna warn you. I'm gonna tell you what's out there, and if you do it, you have knowledge of it. So there's no crying about it. Now we just got to get past it.
Yeah. Chris, what you got, brother?
I don't know. I don't. I'm not a father. I My biological father really didn't want anything to do with me, and the dude my mom married didn't teach me a damn thing.
Yeah.
So I do not know. If I'm speaking in general, just based off of the conversations that I have, this is right up my alley because this is what my YouTube channel is about.
Yeah.
Like, I talk to dads and I talk to husbands. Based out of all of the conversations that I have had, they are either fighting tooth and nail to be a dad, or they're trying to be the dad that they never saw. You understand what I'm saying? They're trying to be something that they've never ever seen before. And like Roland said, it is on the fly. Um, I am going to say that even though the role of father and the role of men is starting to, they're attempting to diminish it. I Like I said, man, I don't know anymore. Like, I truly don't. I
No,
don't know anymore.
no, that's fine. That's fine. And I think it's important, um, because you got Mr. Dad over there, um, and well, he and I both are dads, and obviously our experiences are different. And so I think within the space of collective experiences, we can learn from one another. And I think the collective experiences pooled together to where we share what we know, what we've been through, some of the harder, like you said, one of the things that we look to do as fathers, as senior fathers, that's what I call them, not a grandfather. I'm a senior father. So as senior fathers, right? what we look to do. Hey man, don't judge me. I got my own name. And I'm
You know
I'm
what?
saying
You
that
get that
jokingly.
today. You get that today.
I'm saying
I
that
give it to
jokingly
you.
because my son told me yesterday. He said, Dad, I don't. He said, you're not old enough to be a granddad. We got to come up with a new name. So senior father is my name, just so you guys know. So um, I think in the space of seniority, right, um, where the experience lies, and it doesn't mean that the experience is great experience, it's just hopefully that it's lessons learned from the experience, right? And so we share the lessons learned, not necessarily the details about the experience. We only share the details about the experience when we're trying to help them to understand that we've been through the exact same thing that they have been. So thank you. Go ahead.
I will say this though. Just talking to the men that I talk to on my channel and off the channel, I do, if we're speaking fathers, there's like a, from what they have described, there's like a nature level sense of responsibility that they get. You understand what I'm saying? It's like nature. They have to take care of this. You understand what I'm saying? And then they put themselves in a position to take care of it, despite what the narrative is. The men, they once they have somebody under their covering, it's like, I gotta take care of this, because if I don't take care of this, everybody fails. You understand what I'm saying? So I guess when it comes to that, and also having some sort of responsibility under you, whether it's a wife or a child or just somebody else, or even yourself in your own care, there's like a sense of responsibility that we feel, and if we're not fulfilling it, they feel like they're not doing anything. I will say that. You're muted, sir.
My bad, man. Players mess up. No, I'm joking. Hey, so listen, as we get ready to tap in this, I got to get my disclaimer right, because I think it's important to say this at this point. Like, you're looking at a panel of individuals that I consider to be subject matter experts of their own perspective. I think that's important to understand, because you're going to hear different experiences, and that's okay. Nobody's experience is wrong, right? Ideally, like I said, what we desire to do is share the lessons that we learn through those experiences. And so, that being said, the first question I kind of want to, well, the next question really, that I kind of want to go after, and it falls under what I tend to call monitors of disciplined behavior, right? That's kind of like how I view fathers, right? Monitors of disciplined behavior. So, first and foremost, the first question I kind of want to drop on you guys is, how do or did you strike a balance between setting boundaries, right? And we talked about setting boundaries for like the longest here. How do or did you strike a balance between setting boundaries and nurturing independence while fulfilling your role as a monitor of disciplined behavior?
I think when you, like growing up, I was a father with teenagers in the house early. I was a grandfather, like a senior father at 34 years old. I'm 34. I'm barely should be a daddy. But because I had kids early and then I had my grandbaby. But when it came to discipline, I always was the same way. I was like, if you bump your head, I'm gonna make sure you feel it. You feel it. You did it. You feel it. You have to learn to navigate through your own problems. I'm not going to help you escape from things simply because you do dumb stuff, knowing that I've given you the information. I've given you what could happen, what did, and you took route to the left when you had choices. And I let them know that choices have consequences. Like I think I told the story before when my daughter, it was a Friday, she decided to do what I told her not to do, and she ended up going to jail, her and her friend. And I'm like, how you go to jail for shoplifting and you got money in your pocket? I gave you money, but she went to jail. Oh, well, come get me. Come get you. I told you when you left here I wasn't coming to get you. So where she would stay where you at, because I'm looking at it like, if you constantly remove them from the pains, they won't understand how it feels. That's why some things, as a parent, you got to allow them to experience. You can't just pick them up because they fall. Let them see what it feels like, then dust them off and say, "Hey, it don't feel good. You don't like that? Don't do it again." And but teaching teaching that consequences come with every choice is how I deal with things.
Mm. I, I'll go, and whatever comes to mind, bro. Just add
Like
to.
what? Like what am I supposed to say? Like, I don't have any children. Or okay, okay. Before we
Uh,
proceed any further, can I ask a question, please?
there you go.
Would you like for me to speak from my own personal experience, or would you like for me to speak from the information that I have gathered from the men that I have talked to on my platform?
Yes,
Because they're two totally different things.
yes.
I hate it when you do that. Okay, let me gather my thoughts. You go ahead.
All right, very well. Um, I think this is one of those things that I kind of I struggle with trying to find a balance. first and foremost understanding that we had our experiences were different. Um, and so when it came down to just understanding what setting boundaries were all about, I kind of got the idea, just looking at how I was raised, right? My mother was very disciplined. She had discipline in the house. She believed in discipline. So for me, that kind of carried over. And plus it kind of helped that, we was in the army at that point in time, right? And so we were disciplined people at that particular point in time. But we had to be careful. I had to be careful that discipline did not look like sojourning, right? And so for me, I think that's where the ebbs and flow for me kind of happened. Sometimes I found that I was kind of soldiering my children, and I had to kind of pull that back and reel that back in and said, okay, that needs to look different. And so the like I would kind of call it like a very limited level of compassion, right? This is what you're supposed to be doing. This is what you did. These are the consequences. It was more so like that. And then as I got older, it changed. So now in my older years, not now, but then later on, that's when I got to the point of like getting to the point of instead of saying this is what you're supposed to do, this is what you did, this is the consequences. I got to the point of asking questions. So when you did this, what outcome were you thinking? Like what were you expecting to happen? Roland just kind of gave an example of what happened with his daughter. Like during that time frame, if I'm thinking it's right around the same time, I probably would have acted like, so what were you thinking? What outcome were you looking for? If something for whatever reason I elected not to come and get you, how would you have gotten out? How would you have gotten home? Whatever that looks like. So now I got to the point to where I got them thinking about their behavior. And it really seemed like that was worse than the punishment, right? It seemed like they just want to be punished instead of thinking about what they actually did. And so, in that scope of making them think about their behavior, what they were thinking at a point in time when they did what they did, and the certain outcome that they achieved, it was almost as like it was painful for them to do so. However, it was a lesson that they learned in real time. So what happened is they ended up disciplining themselves moving forward in the future simply because they had to think about what you're doing before you do it, and then the consequences that could come, based upon a bad decision, so forth and so on.
How do you set boundaries between what was the question again? I want to get it right. Setting boundaries and nurturing discipline when fulfilling your role as a monitor of disciplined behavior. Listen. I'm gonna start it all the way from bottom level baseline. And this is based off of the conversations that I've had with parents and with these kids too. If I were a father, I would make absolutely sure that my kid could trust me with anything, because a lot of these youngsters don't trust their parents, and they don't trust the OGs out, the quote unquote OGs out here. Because one, a good majority of them ain't doing nothing but flapping their gums. And two, they're afraid that if they say something, it's going to be viewed as disrespectful, because for some strange reason, these parents out here can't determine the difference between somebody talking about a behavior and somebody talking about them as a person. It's like the behavior is so intertwined with who they are that they feel like just because I'm talking about the behavior and I'm saying the behavior is trash, I'm saying you're a bad person too. And that's not the case. It's really not. I'm just talking about this thing that you're doing. That doesn't make you a bad person. It just makes the thing that you're doing bad for me, and it's not conducive to my growth. But if I can't come to you and talk to you about it without you getting